When I saw that Bloober Team was coming out with a new game, I got excited at the opportunity to shit all over it because their remake of Silent Hill 2 was so personally offensive to me. They took the best survival horror game of all time, a legitimate 10 out of 10 game, and made it a 7 out of 10 game, and missed the fucking point the entire time. Everything subtle about the original game was just lost in their remake, but their remake was close enough to the original that all of the shills, including the ones who were supposedly fans of the original Silent Hill 2, decided to recommend it. It was a game that was so good that most people already forgot that they played it. Now, all that being said, I do want to be fair and give them credit where credit is due. And despite Cronos The New Dawn being an extremely mediocre game, it was actually better than I expected it to be, and there are some things that the game does well. Before I get into that though, leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all of that good shit. It really does help the channel grow a ton. Comment down below letting me know what you think of the video, or letting me know what other types of videos that you want to see from me in the future. Consider becoming a channel member if you wish to support me further. Also, YouTube has implemented a new hype feature, so if you do really enjoy the video, be sure to hype it up so it gets pushed into the algorithm. But let's go ahead and get right back into the review of Cronos The New Yawn. This game struggles to find its own identity. It takes things from the Resident Evil 4 remake, Bloober Team's own Silent Hill 2 remake, and of course, the obvious, Dead Space. The comparisons between this game and Dead Space are obvious, so I don't really want to go into much detail on them, and I'm sure every other reviewer has already made a mention of them. The main problem though with Cronos The New Dawn is just, well, it's not very scary. Look, I know me saying the game isn't scary is extremely subjective. This is a video about my opinion of the game. The entire video is subjective, but I think I can at least give you some valid and understandable reasons as to why I don't feel like it's very scary. Most of the game, you spend your time walking through spooky looking environments trying to scrounge any supplies that you can, using the same third-person camera from their Silent Hill 2 remake. And then you have some of the most telegraphed encounters ever. And this is where everything really falls pretty flat to me, and it's not scary at all because they so heavily telegraph the encounters, sometimes quite literally telling you they're gonna happen before they do.
I have encountered a nest. It has begun.
This is also a game that tries to do the PNG jump scares, the laziest form of trying to scare someone. The combat isn't really that great. There's an insane amount of gun sway. There's only like 4 different enemy types the entire game. It's just shallow and repetitive. And the game is far too long. There's only like 6 hours of content, but it takes like 15 hours to beat the game. It's seriously see enemy, charge gun, shoot, repeat. There's no reason to play the game any other way.
Biden, blast!
You'll definitely want to master your charge shots early. I also just thought about it, and I don't know if stomping on the monster's dead bodies even does anything. Burning their bodies prevents them from combining with each other, but I don't know if stomping on their bodies matters at all. Which, if it doesn't, it's like, why is the stomp even in the game at all, other than to copy Dead Space? The stomp is identical to Dead Space stomp. You have a very limited inventory. It's one of those inventory systems where your gun and your key take up the same amount of inventory space. That's actually one of the things that the game does really well, is the lack of resources, which can definitely help encounters feel more tense. Again, the game does this part very well. You can upgrade your inventory and your suit integrity a little bit. It requires cores, and you don't get that many throughout the game. Some of the guns are basically an upgrade to an existing gun, but do take up another inventory spot, which sucks. And they also share ammo with the original gun that you already had too. And speaking of ammo, that's really the only time that I felt tense at all in the game, is when I was running out of ammo during a fight. But there's not really any consequences for dying either. If you die in a fight, you'll come back at a checkpoint just outside of the fight and just get to do it again. The game is also pretty easy, and with the monsters, there's times where you're just better off just running right past them. And then you get to what is clearly a safe zone, and they'll just stand there and stare at you through the open door. Once you realize that you can outrun them to a safe zone, the tension is obviously deflated a lot, and you can basically outrun anything. The monsters themselves are also kind of generic. I keep forgetting they're called orphans because, again, they're just not memorable. They're fine, they're not awful, they just don't really stand out. they're not going to go down in history as iconic horror monsters. They mainly just look like blobs of flesh. Now, the main thing that gives them really any unique characteristic is that they can merge together, and they just become larger and tougher. You can burn them to stop this from happening, and you have multiple ways to burn them. There's even exploding barrels, and some of them you can reuse with a time mechanic in the game. And you really do need to use these barrels to save on ammo. There are some encounters that you probably won't even have enough ammo without using the barrels. There is also a monster type that clings to walls and just grabs you and pulls you towards them. It's not scary, but it's really fucking annoying. It's just a hindrance when they grab you. Not all enemies react to damage or show that they were damaged, which can be weird because it makes you feel like you didn't even hit them. I actually had a brief period where I was wondering if the hitboxes were just really bad, but then I saw other people making the same point and I realized it was just a part of the game design. Also, the game has cats you can pet, because it's a Reddit game, and they give you extra supplies, and then they hang out in your base. That also makes the game less scary. I like cats, but it of course doesn't make the game any scarier. Some of the level design isn't bad. It's pretty linear, but there's some areas with multiple interconnected and branching paths to explore. Again, you still end up coming back to the same place, but typically you can find some extra loot or one of the cats by trying those other areas. This is another game where they use lighting and white paint to tell you where to go. How late in development do you think they switched from yellow paint to white paint? One of the inventory items that you have is bolt cutters, and I see people saying that you should always carry your bolt cutters with you, which actually doesn't make any sense. There's always safe zones near where you would need to use your bolt cutters, and in every safe zone, you can access your stash. I'd rather backtrack for 1 minute to grab the bolt cutters and keep that inventory spot open than to lose access to that inventory spot. There are some puzzles, I hesitate to even call them puzzles. They're more like, oh, look in that area you haven't been in yet to find the key to open this door, or use the time powers to make the ball objects move out of the way. They're really not any more complex than that. Most of the time, they only have one option and one solution. The gravity boots also feel pretty pointless and it's only contextual. In Dead Space, it took place in space. No gravity makes a lot of sense, obviously, but in this game it doesn't. Now, it's used well, there's nothing wrong with it, it just doesn't really feel like it needs to be there. They don't really do anything. They don't open up new puzzles or really any new areas of exploration. They just help you continue the linear path and are more like set pieces. There is one boss fight late in the game that utilizes the boots, almost as if Bloober Team went, damn, maybe we need to actually have a reason for those boots to exist. Cronos The New Dawn takes place in a dead Polish post-apocalyptic city. The game is actually pretty atmospheric with extremely detailed environments. A lot of the time, the lighting is pretty dang good too. I actually enjoyed this aspect of the game, except for the fact that a lot of rooms are just covered in this red shit. Was this supposed to add to the horror? It's just red blobs, it's not scary, and makes the game look more generic. When they actually modeled the environments, I really liked how they looked. You play as the Traveler. The story of the game is honestly a little incoherent, and I'm okay with a story having unanswered questions, but this story also has a twist ending that makes you feel like a lot of what you already did and already learned was a little pointless. It's definitely a vague breadcrumb type of story with a big final twist. The last about 2 hours of the game are where the story finally comes together. Now, honestly, the story just wasn't really interesting enough to keep my attention. It was really not that good, and honestly, I just sort of stopped paying attention after a while. The game does have multiple endings. I'm not replaying it to try to get different ones. I'm just not that interested in the story personally. The voice acting is just okay. The Traveler's doing a voice like a human trying to sound like a robot.
Given your significance, your extraction has been ordered.
It's fine, really, but I will never remember any of the voices in the game. Oh, and don't think I didn't notice that your character has a female voice, but a male-looking body. I'm sure that's not intended to be subtle propaganda at all. Just like the helmet being pussy-shaped is definitely not propaganda. Who knows, maybe one of the designers was just an absolute freak. Please direct the local authorities to whoever designed that helmet snatch. This is another game too where they have at least one note, sometimes several, in every room, and the notes add nothing to the story, nothing of value at all. They're actually so pointless. It's another one of those fake jobs to add these notes. You gotta give those H-1B hires something to do after all. Now, this game did have horrific performance. It's more Unreal Engine 5 slop because we haven't experienced enough of that for one lifetime. The game's also a little buggy too. I had one time where the enemies got stuck on each other, which was honestly a little funny. And I had other random various glitches, nothing game breaking. The main problem was just the Unreal Engine 5 stutters though. So the story isn't good, the gameplay isn't great, and the performance is pretty awful. And worst of all, the game just isn't scary, and that's its biggest sin. It's supposed to be a horror game, but there's no horror. You can't actually scare the player because then they might quit the game, even though they bought a game that's supposed to be scary. Again, this game is not an objectively terrible game, it's just not great. The entire time I was playing this game, I was just thinking, I could be playing Dead Space. Just play Dead Space. There is no reason to play this game when you could go back and play the first Dead Space and have a lot more fun. This is the type of game that kind of sucks to review as the reviewer, because it's not bad enough for me to just annihilate it, but it's not good enough for me to suck it off either. I probably shouldn't phrase stuff like that on the internet, and that kind of inherently makes a review of the game a little boring. If you really like the survival horror genre, wait for a sale. If you don't like that genre or don't really care about it, then don't play this game. It's that simple. Skip Cronos The New Yawn. Again, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all of that good shit. Comment down below letting me know what you thought of the video. Consider becoming a channel member or checking out my locals if you wish to support me further. Hype the video as well. I know I'm already tired of saying it, but please do it. It really helps the channel grow a ton. But as always, guys, this has been your boy Drinker, and I'm out of here. Peace.